Did you know the FBI believes there are as many as 25 serial killers active at any given time? However, the Murder Accountability Project believes that number to be closer to 2,000. Welcome. I'm Jay.
I'm T.
We are Fatal Blend.
This is where we talk about two things we absolutely love: a little bit of coffee and a lot of true crime, specifically serial killers.
That is true. And here we are.
Yeah, we're here.
But where we're here is different than when we're normally here.
Yes, we are traveling.
We are in the downtown LA area. So yeah, that's where we're at. Not too far from Skid Row. A lot of crazy stuff happens here.
We're here for Jay's work, and he was here for a couple weeks, so I came with him. And with that, we have to record on the road. So if we sound echoey, funny, weird, that's why. We're not in our normal...
We're in a little hotel room.
We're in a little tiny hotel room, and we just have to roll with it because we have no other options. But we did go to Disneyland for 2 days over the weekend, so that was good. And so now we're here, and we're gonna do an episode.
Yeah, so not a whole lot to really yak about this time around. Wow, why do I sound like what the heck was that? All right, well, let's redo that.
Why did you sound like
I don't know what happened there. It was just like I went into radio voice mode. But yeah, we don't have a whole lot to really yak about. We did Disney. I'm working. You're sitting in a hotel doing research.
I've been doing so much research, and I'm also reading a couple of different books at the same time, which sounds weird, but they're all true crime related. So I'm trying to, because I know, so this is episode 44, so I know what we're doing for episode 50. So I'm reading a book right now that will help me for episode 50, but I also have other books that I really want to read. So it's like I'm reading like a couple chapters here and then going to something else and doing a couple chapters there, and yeah.
Which is crazy to think about. We're getting close to 50.
I know.
And at 52, you know what that marks? 1 year.
Oh yeah, 52
weeks in a year.
Weeks in a year. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can hear it. I can hear it in my headphone, and I can't fix it. I can hear, like, if you hear like a weird sound, it's just the sound of us moving around. You might hear our chords because, again, we're not in our usual setup. So sorry. I will try my best to cut them out when I edit, but if you hear them, just bear with us and remember we're on the road.
And if you don't hear them, we'll just chalk it up to her being weird.
I'm going to make sure we hear it now.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. So let's jump into who we're talking about today.
All right. So today we are talking about a Sam. We're talking about a man named Samuel Little. He is nicknamed Samuel McDowell. He has 34 to 90 victims.
Yeesh.
His murder dates are 1970 to 1982 and then 1989 to 2005. His location is California. The locations of the murders are California and Texas. His method of murder was strangulation, and some characteristics of his murder are robbery and rape.
But even to get him on 35, like, that's a lot.
Okay, so we're going to start with his background, as we always do. So,
wait, did he have any nicknames?
Yeah, his nickname was Samuel McDowell.
Oh, but nothing like the Slasher of the South or anything like that?
No, and you're going to find out why his nickname is Samuel McDowell. So, Samuel Little was born June 7th, 1940, and he was actually born with the name Samuel McDowell in Reynolds, Georgia. Now, his mother, Bessie Mae Little, I love the name.
Bessie Mae.
She was a teenage prostitute at the time, and she actually abandoned him. They actually think that she gave birth to him while she was in jail, but they're not 100% sure. Now, after he is born, he does move to Lorain, Ohio, and he is pretty much raised by his grandmother. So I think when he moved in with his grandmother is when his name got changed to Samuel Little instead of McDowell.
Makes sense.
Now, he attended Hawthorne Junior High School, and he actually struggled a lot in school. He struggled with the actual learning part, like he struggled learning, but he also struggled with disciplinarian actions, and he would struggle with following the rules, and he would get in trouble a lot. Now, according to him, he claims that he actually started having fantasies about strangling women in his childhood years. Specifically, he said it was in kindergarten when he saw his teacher touch her own neck. So he said that basically starting in kindergarten, he started having these sexual fantasies about strangling women.
Which is crazy to think about a kindergartner. And if you guys hear wind kick on and off, we apologize. It's the air conditioner that's in the room. Just one of those noises that come on. So, no, but like I think about kids that are that age, and like when I was that age, it's like you're thinking about recess and stuff like that. To think those thoughts is just kind of baffling to me.
Probably why I'm thinking he was born bad.
Right.
Not and so when I say born bad, I don't mean like, I'm not trying to be harsh when I say born bad. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm saying he was born with something wrong with him. He was born with these thoughts in his brain. It wasn't something that happened because of his childhood. It was bred into him when he was born. Now, as a teenager, he actually collected true crime magazines that specifically focused on choking of women. Now, when I read that at first, I was like, I mean, whatever, you collect true crime magazines. I collect true crime books. But my true crime books don't focus on
on everything.
They focus on serial killers and some true crimes. So it's kind of everything. I don't, hone in on one. So then in 1956, so now he's 16 years old, he is actually convicted of breaking and entering into a property in Omaha, Nebraska. And he was put into juvenile detention for this, for breaking and entering. Now, here we get to the late 1960s, and he actually moves to Florida, and he moves to go live with his mother. So he was, again, raised, in the late 1960s. So think about the age. In 56, he was 16 years old. So in the late 60s, he was literally at least in his 20s.
Right.
And that's when he actually goes to live with his mom. He was with his grandma prior to all that. Now, when he moved in with her, he actually had several different jobs. Like one point, he was a cemetery worker. Another point, he became an ambulance driver, which is so weird to think because now you have to have like all these certifications.
Yeah, because they're one of the paramedics.
Now, as he gets older, he ends up having multiple run-ins with the police, and it's spread over a total of 8 states that he had run-ins with the cops. Over these 8 states, this is what he had been caught for: driving under the influence, fraud, shoplifting, solicitation, armed robbery, aggravated assault, and rape. So
he's just a bad dude.
Yeah, so over these 8 states, he had been arrested or caught doing these things. Now, in 1961, so this is probably, I don't even think he had actually moved to Florida yet at this point, but he might have. He is actually sentenced to 3 years in prison for breaking into a furniture store. And he does serve 3 years. He gets out in 1964. So I'm almost wondering if he moved in with his mom after that. Like if he went to
Yeah, it was like just doing his thing,
Yeah,
got
and then
arrested,
got
went
arrested,
to
got
jail,
out,
said
went to
I
his
need
mom's.
stability, go back to my mom's house.
Now, by 1975, so 1975, he had been arrested a total of 26 times in 11 states.
Yeesh.
Now, here's what he got arrested for. And, all the above, right? The ones that I just said.
Right.
Plus more theft, assault, attempted rape, more fraud, and an attack on government officials. So he went from 8 states to 11 states, and then he was arrested like 11 times to like 26 times, right? So this brings us to 1982. He is arrested in Mississippi. You know what? I just realized who this person is, and this is one of the most angering cases I've ever had. I've done so many cases, and I was just researching other people that I forgot. I didn't forget who he was, but like it was just kind of like on to the next one. And as I'm getting ready to read this, I am so fucking annoyed by this case. I just want to throw this out to you all people. I am so angered by this case. Okay?
Well, let's hear it.
So he's arrested in Mississippi in 1982. He is charged with the murder of 22-year-old Melinda Rose LaPree. Now, a grand jury ends up actually refusing to indict him on this murder. But during this time, he was then charged. So they wanted to charge him with the murder of this 22-year-old, but they wouldn't do it. The grand jury didn't see that there was enough evidence. Well, while they're doing this, they also had found another woman that was murdered, 26-year-old Patricia Ann Mount in Florida. And they were like, that's our guy. And so they refused to do anything for him on this one. And so they're like, oh, okay, fine. You're not going to be charged with the murder of Melinda. Fine. We're going to charge you with the murder of Patricia. So an investigation goes out. They collect all this stuff. They do all these things. He was actually identified by witnesses as the last person seen with Patricia. However, the witness is deemed untrustworthy and he's acquitted in 1984.
Yeah, of course he is.
So 2 times he was charged with murder, but neither one came through with anything.
And that just builds to him as being like, ooh, I can get away with it.
Yeah. So then in October of 1984, he actually moves to California. And at that time, he is arrested for kidnapping and beating and strangling 22-year-old Lori Barrows. She does actually survive. And a month later, he is found by the police in the back seat of his car with an unconscious woman that was also beaten and strangled.
Did she live?
I believe so. They didn't say.
Oh, okay.
So he gets arrested, he gets charged, and he serves 2.5 years.
Yep.
For both combined, 2.5 years for beating and strangling 2 women. Okay.
But he didn't kill him, so.
Again, he'd already been charged with 2 murders, but was acquitted.
Attempted murder.
So once he's released from jail, he actually ends up moving to Los Angeles. And that's where he really, yeah. It's kind of fitting that we're in Los Angeles.
Go lock the door.
Okay, so we're going to do like we normally do. I'm going to go through the murders first of what we know, and then I'll tell you a little bit about them, okay? So on July 13th, 1987, Carol Elford is murdered. September 3rd, 1987, Guadalupe Apodaca is murdered. August 14th, 1989, Audrey Nelson is found murdered. September 5th, 2012, Samuel is arrested in Louisville, Kentucky at this time, he is arrested September 5th. Now, while he's in custody, his DNA is actually linked to the murder of those 3 women that I just said. Okay. Now, this is how this kind of happens. So they continue to investigate while he's in custody. So because obviously they arrest him for whatever reason, whatever made them arrest him, he had to do DNA. They link the DNA to those 3 women and they're like, cool, okay. However, they continue to investigate other murders that are very similar to this murder. And they actually investigate a total of 60 murders and they're looking at him for killing all 60 of these women.
Probably because it has the same like markings.
That's what I'm thinking.
The strangulation, the beating.
Right. Now, during their investigation and the interviews with him, he actually ends up confessing to a ton of these murders. Now, he provides sketches for 16 of them. Okay, so I guess I lied when I said I'm going to go through the murders. I forgot that this one had to be done differently because he got caught for the 3. Then he gets caught, and then because he's caught, a bunch of other murders come out.
Then he just starts.
So we kind of have to go through, yeah. So he does provide 16 sketches to the police because the thing is, he's got a photographic memory. So he's able to remember details of these murders and these women that only a murderer would know. And because he has a photographic memory and he's actually very good at drawing, he's able to actually sketch these women out, and they're able to take these women and start trying to figure out and matching them with
who they are,
Jane Doe's, right? So he literally, well, first of all, by sketching these women, he's proving to them that he at least had interactions with at least the 16 that he's given them photos of. I am about ready to read you a list. Okay. Now this list is the one that he gave them himself.
Okay.
And what he would tell them is, well, okay, this is very confusing. So when they first brought this list out, most of the women on the list were unknown because they didn't know who they were. However, through the help of his sketches and the help of DNA testing and the help of him being more detailed, they have actually been able to link these women to specific names or identities. So I'm going to read you the updated list, but just know that this list of women, majority of them were unnamed when this first came out.
Wow. All right.
So these are the women he has confessed to killing. So he literally sat down and he would, like I saw, there's a video, there's a bunch of videos where he sits down and they show videos of him talking about it. And it's crazy because he would talk about them, explain what they looked like, and like just tell them what exactly happened. And because he's already sitting in jail for it. So he's just out here just, I guess, sharing it. I don't know. He's one of those people. Maybe he wants them to have closure. I don't know. So it starts 1970. And again, some of the dates are ranges, like date ranges, because when he would talk to them, he'd say, it was like 1970 or 71. So like this first woman used to be an unnamed. Okay. So it was an unnamed white female for a very long time. And then they were finally able to figure it out. But he would say something like, oh yeah, back in 1970 or 71, it was this one white female, and he'd describe what she looked like. Oh, we were in Homestead, Florida. I don't know her age, but she looked like this. We met up. I did this. And then he would go through it, right? So this is how they took his stuff. Eventually, though, like I said, they've been able to link these ones. So 1970 to 71, Mary Jo Brosley was a white female from Homestead, Florida with an unknown age. She was murdered. 1971, Linda, quote Linda, that's the name they've given her. She was in Miami, Florida, and she was approximately age 22. 1971 to 72, again, a quoted Marianne, because that's what he would call them. So if he called them a name, it doesn't mean that's their name,
right?
But it's what they were known as.
Called them.
Well, no, it was what they were known as, like on the street. Like if he were to pick up a prostitute or whatever, it was, oh yeah, she was Marianne, or oh yeah, we called her Linda. Like that was how these came across. So Marianne, she was picked up in Miami, Florida, and she was approximately 18 years old. Now, he did provide a sketch of this victim to the police. 1971 to 72, an unnamed black female. She was from Miami, Florida, or she was picked up in Miami, Florida, and she actually potentially was had an Air Force association. Then in 1972, an unnamed white female from Prince George County, Maryland. She was about 20 to 25, and she was possibly from Massachusetts. Now, his confession does actually match a Jane Doe case, and he does provide a sketch of this victim, but they've never actually been able to link. Then in 1973, another unnamed white female from Kendall, he picked her up in Kendall, Florida. She was about 45. And again, she was possibly from Massachusetts as well. Then there was Sarah Brown, who was a black female, and he picked her up in New Orleans, Louisiana. She was 39, and she possibly worked at a local restaurant. And then November 1973, Agatha White Buffalo from Omaha, Nebraska. She was 34. Then 1974, again, quoted Kat, so someone he called Kat. She was a black female from Savannah, Georgia, either 22 or 23. Then also in 1974, an unnamed black female from Cincinnati, Ohio, age unknown. 1974, also Leola Etta Bryant from Charleston, South Carolina. She was 51. 1975, Martha Cunningham, black female from Knoxville, Tennessee, about 34 years old. Then in 1976 to 77, an unnamed black female from Wichita Falls, Texas. Her age was unknown, and he does provide a sketch of this victim. Then 1976 to 1979, quoted Joe. So he called her Joe from Granite City, Illinois. She was 26. Also from 1976 to 79, or potentially 93, because his memory's a little fuzzy on the time frame. Leanne Helms from Houston, Texas. She was 21. 1977, Yvonne Pless from Macon, Georgia. She was 20. Also in 1977, Clara Birdlong from Pascagoula, Mississippi. She was 44, and she worked at a shipyard. 1977 to 78, an unnamed black female from Plant City, Florida, with an unknown age, but he does say that they actually met in Clearwater, Florida, instead of Plant City. 1980 to 1981, Patricia Parker from Dade County, Georgia. She was about 25 to 30 years old. 1980 to 84, an unnamed black female in Gulfport, Mississippi. She was about 22. In 1981, an unnamed black female in Atlanta, Georgia. She was about 35 to 40, and he does provide a sketch of this victim. In 1982, an unnamed white female from New Orleans, Louisiana, unknown age. 1983 to 1984, Fredonia Smith from Atlanta, Georgia. She was 18. 1984, an unnamed black female from Atlanta, Georgia, about 23 to 25 years old. She was possibly a college student, and he did provide a sketch of this victim. Also in 1984, an unnamed white female in northern Kentucky with an unknown age, and she was possibly picked up in Columbus, Ohio, and he did provide a sketch of her also to the police. Then 1984 to the mid-1990s, Priscilla Baxter Jones, she's from West Memphis, Arkansas, and she was 36. Then in 1984, an unnamed black female from San Bernardino, California, she was about 18 to 20. Another unnamed black female from Fort Myers, Florida, age unknown. Another unnamed black female from Tampa Bay, Florida, age unknown. And Frances Campbell from Savannah, Georgia, and she was 23. Then in 1987, an unnamed black female from Los Angeles, California, age unknown. Another unnamed black female from Los Angeles, California, also age unknown. Another unnamed black female from Los Angeles, California, she was about 19. A quoted granny was a black female from Los Angeles, California, and she was about 50. An unnamed black female from Los Angeles, California, about 22 to 23 years old. Another unnamed black female from Los Angeles, California, about 26 to 27. Then in 1987 to the early 1990s, an unnamed black female from Monroe, Louisiana. She was about 24, and he does provide a sketch of this victim. Then in 1988 or 1996, there was an unnamed Hispanic female from Phoenix, Arizona. She was about 40 to 45, and he does provide a sketch of this victim. Then in 1990 to 1997, somewhere around there, Jolanda Jones from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. She was 26. Then 1990 to 1991, Alice was a black female from Los Angeles, California. She was about 40 to 45. Then in 1990 to 1992, an unnamed black female from Los Angeles, California, about 20 to 22, and she may have been from San Francisco. Then in 1992, an unnamed black female from Los Angeles, California, age unknown. Then 1992 to 93, an unnamed black female from Los Angeles, California, age unknown. Then another unnamed Hispanic female from Los Angeles, California. She was about 24 to 25, and she may have also been from Phoenix. And then there was also Ruth, again quoted, what he called Ruth. She was from North Little Rock, Arkansas. She was 24. Then in 1996, there was an unnamed black female from Los Angeles, California. She was about 23 to 25 years old. There was also T-Money, quote unquote T-Money.
And we laughed because
I'm not laughing.
That was T's nickname in high school.
You guys, I'm not laughing. It made my heart hurt actually when I saw it, but it's just weird because that is like, I was like one of those, we just had a real weird high school years, and T-Money was my nickname like throughout my whole entire like high school and a little later. Anyways, so T-Money, a black female from Los Angeles, California. She was about 23 to 24, and he does provide a sketch of her. Another unnamed white female from Los Angeles, California. She was about 23 to 25. He also provides a sketch of her. Another unnamed black female, Los Angeles, California. She was about 25. Then in 1997, Anne, a white female from Phoenix, Arizona. Her age was unknown, and he did provide a sketch of this victim. So now that I've gone through all those, he confessed to every single one of those. They got the dates from him. They got if he knew their names. And like I said, can you hear how many unknowns there still are?
Yeah, there's still a lot.
There's still a ton of unknowns, but they were able to link eventually some of them because I don't know if he told them where the bodies were. Like, I don't know how they linked them, but they were able to finally start connecting some people, which is good because it gives closure. And I think they're still to this day trying to, match up people with victims so that they can give closure to families. So even though he confesses to all of these murders, there's actually no real proof that he did anything. And since most of them were not named at the time, it was really hard for them to actually charge him because there's like kind of like no body, no person. You're just claiming to have killed all these people. So he actually gets tried for the murders of Carol Elford, Guadalupe Apodaca, and Audrey Nelson, which are the 3 that he was connected to through DNA. Now, his trial starts September of 2014, and they did use the DNA evidence and some witness testimony. And some of the witnesses, here's what's crazy, some of the witnesses they had were actually people who had survived attacks from him.
Well, yeah, those first 2 survived, so...
That's what I'm saying is they came forward. So then on September 25th, 2014, he's convicted on all charges, and he gets life in prison without parole. Now, on November 13th, 2018, so here we are, 4 years later, the county sheriff's office actually makes the announcement that Samuel Little might have actually committed over 90 murders between 1970 and 2005.
That's so many.
And it's also announced that he was going to be charged with the murder of Denise Christie brothers. And he actually pled guilty on December 13th to that murder and received another life sentence. But then later in November 2018, he actually decides to confess to even more. So he already gave them that long list.
More of the 90 or just more of the list that he's sharing?
More of the people that he killed that he hasn't told them about yet. So he decides to tell them that in 1996, he killed a woman named Melissa Thomas. And in 1994, he killed a woman named Denise Christie Brothers, which is the one that he pled guilty to. In 1979, he killed Brenda Alexander. In 1977, he killed another unidentified woman. In 1982, he killed Fredonia Smith. In 1982, he killed Dorothy Richards. In 1996, he killed a woman named Daisy McGuire. In 1978, he killed a woman named Julia Critchfield. In 2005, he killed a woman named Nancy Carroll Stevens. In 1978, he killed a woman named Evelyn Weston. And in 1982, he killed a woman named Rosie Hill. So these are some more that he knew their names. So he admitted to them. So then on November 20th, 2018, it is announced that a case for the murder of Nancy Carroll Stevens would go before the grand jury in January of 2019. And then on November 27th, the FBI announced that 34 of Samuel Little's confessions had been confirmed. So they were able to confirm that he murdered
still working on it.
34 of those women that he had already confessed to. And they still continue to try and identify these women, for other cases. Now, December of 2018, he's actually indicted on the murder of Linda Sue Boards, who was 23, who he had strangled to death in May 1981 in Kentucky. And another one of his victims is also identified, Martha Cunningham. She was 34, and she was murdered in 1975. Now, in August of 2019, Samuel Little pleads guilty to killing 4 women in Ohio. This includes a woman named Anna Stewart, who was 32 and killed in 1981. He receives 2 consecutive life sentences of 15 years on top of all of his other sentences. Then, on December 30th of 2020, Samuel Little dies in prison.
Of COVID?
No. They actually didn't say what he died from because all they said was that there was no foul play. But here's the thing. He was 80 years old at this time.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, death was knocking on his door anyways. He was 80 years old, but he also was unhealthy, supposedly. So, I mean, he probably just died of natural causes, right? That's what I got. That's the episode. Because there was not a lot. I do have like 3 little shots here or 4 little shots here, but that's all there is. Because again, there's not
a lot of death, but not a lot of info because they haven't been able to.
Well, he confesses to it, but it's not like for me to find out the information. It's really weird to listen to him because I watched some of the videos of him, and it's like he's so scatterbrained when he talks, and he's like, oh yeah, like he was doing one of the ones that I watched is he was like, oh yeah, I think it was the 70s or 80s, and I met her. We met at the bar. We went down to the blah 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 like lake or whatever. He's like, I killed her, And then she's too big of a woman. I couldn't just carry her back up. Like that's how he talked about it. But then he could sketch out what these women looked like. He could just explain
the way
it.
he's talking about it, like it's no big deal.
The thing is for him is I don't think he felt bad. I don't think he had remorse. And I think that for him, he knew he was in jail. So it's almost like, I almost wonder if he was like taking credit.
I mean, anybody who kills 90 people,
right?
Like, yeah, there's just going to be no remorse.
Right. So I can tell you the shots. And then I do have one extra little snippet on here.
Do it.
Okay. So Samuel Little claimed that he learned to box while he was spending time in prison, like early on, like when he started going to prison early on. He said that he had actually learned to box. And supposedly he was good enough that they when he got out of prison, somebody pushed him to go work with a boxing coach. And the boxing coach said that he would have become a prize fighting boxer because he was that good. But he didn't pursue that career. That's unfortunate.
No, he wanted to punch women.
That's unfortunate. He didn't punch him. He strangled him. He didn't punch him.
No, you said they.
Oh, yeah, I
beat
guess
them.
he did beat some of the women, yes. Yeah. But he strangled, yeah. So Samuel Little also started to draw sketches of his victims to help the FBI identify and solve the cases. So that was his main reason. They had come to him and basically said, we need a little bit of help here.
And I don't think it's remorse.
I don't think so
him
either.
Almost like gloating about it.
I do too. I don't think that he did it because he felt bad.
Yeah.
Now, they did note that since there were no stab marks or bullet wounds, many of the deaths that he had caused were originally attributed to drug overdoses, accidental deaths, or natural causes. Because sometimes he wouldn't beat them. He would just strangle them. So they'd find this woman who, I think a lot of the women he went after were prostitutes and drug addicts. And so they would find them like dead on the side of the road. And they'd be like, oh, drug overdose and they're not going to autopsy them. They, if they're a known prostitute or a known drug user, they're not going to autopsy them. They just chalk it up as, they overdosed or, they died of the cold in the night or whatever. But in reality, some of the people that he had talked about, when they look up their death, it's considered an accidental death or whatever. And it was really, he strangled him to death, but they don't look that deep into it. Now, the FBI has labeled, to this day, Samuel Little as the most prolific serial killer in U.S. history.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of people.
I mean, you compare him to Ted Bundy and all those people. He would have continued to go on killing had his DNA not linked him to those 3 women.
Yeah.
And he had been killing for a very long time. Could you imagine? Now, in 2019, the FBI confirmed that Samuel Little had actually confessed to 93 murders. 93 murders. Okay? He confessed to them. And to this day, they have been able to confirm 50 of those cases. So I will guarantee you he murdered 93 women.
Yeah, that's
There's
crazy.
no way he did. There's no way he confesses to these women.
He's not going to make shit up.
No. No. And I think that's why they call him the most prolific U.S. serial killer. Because I actually, to my knowledge, I don't think there's any other serial killers, United States serial killers that have killed that many. I know that there's like in other countries, I think England, Dr. Death killed like 100 and something. But I don't think in the United States anybody's killed 93 women.
It's definitely a lot of freaking women.
It's pretty atrocious, actually. So that's the shots. Here's my final snippet before we talk at all about anything else.
Snip it in the butt.
So when you're looking at our, whatever you're listening on, whether it is on YouTube or if it's on one of the apps or if it's on Podbean, when you look at it, you'll see show notes. I'm sure. And if you've never seen them, if you basically just look below the picture that says Fatal Blend, like sometimes there'll be Fatal Blender, it'll be a picture of Samuel Little. If you scroll down, you see show notes. The show notes will tell you what the show's about. And then below that, it shows references. Well, this time when you scroll down, there is actually going to be a link above everything else. Like it's the first thing that you should see under the show notes. And what this is there is a link there that it says Samuel Little Confessions of a Killer FBI. That's what it says. If you click that link, you don't have to, but if you want to, if you click that link will take you to the sketches that he drew of the women that still have not been matched. So the reason I'm putting it on here is because if we reach people, right?
Yeah, and you recognize a sketch or somebody
you can reach out to the FBI and say, hey, wait, this person kind of looks like they could have been my so-and-so. Or I think this person could be this, to whatever. So they've used his sketches in a lot of these to be able to identify. So the ones that have not currently been matched, they are on a website for anybody to look at. So I went ahead and linked that because it's important that if we can find closure for these women's family, that's good. I don't know how many of these women's families are around or looking, but I know if it was me, I don't care if my kid was a drug addict, a prostitute. If my child ends up dead because of something that happens, I want to have closure. And
I will look.
there is a
forever.
lot. There is a clearly, there's still quite a few women. But again, unfortunately, he didn't sketch every single woman. Because, I mean, honestly, I think he died before he could. I think he would have. Because if you watch the videos of him, he's like sketching these women like in like the 90s and like the 2000s. He didn't do this in the beginning.
Right.
And so these videos of him when he's talking, he's an older man, but he still can remember them he completely remembers them. And so they've taken all the sketches. And I even think, I don't know if it was that website or another one that had also the sketches. For every sketch, there's a video of him talking about the person and the crime. So if you are at all interested, that is what that link is. It's there for you guys to look at. And, if you think you know somebody or whatever, if it reaches you and you're like, wait a minute, this, that, whatever.
Doesn't hurt to look.
It's there for you to take a peek at. And he actually, weirdly enough, his sketches, I think he did them with like crayons, it looks like, kind of. But they're if it was your mom or your grandma, you would know. He definitely knew who he was drawing. And it's not like a weird, I can't tell who that is. You can completely see who the person is that he's trying to portray. And so I just thought it would be really cool to share that information out there so that as this video gets pushed around the world, maybe you take a look and see if you recognize anybody, and maybe we can put some closure to some of these women's families. So,
yeah, I mean, it's sad to hear about this many women and ones that haven't been linked. So either, I think about is are people just aren't looking for them or anything like that. It's nice to hear that the FBI has gotten so many of them.
Well, and it's just crazy because when you think of somebody who killed 93 women really his first murder was 1970 till 2005, because I think 2005 is actually when he was first under suspicion, and I think that's when they first started looking into him for the 3 women that his DNA was connected to.
But then if you do the math, right, when did he go to jail?
When?
The last time.
2005.
So
he went to his trial. So
he died 15 years later.
His trial started in 2014.
Yeah, so he died 15 years later. So he was still killing people in his late 60s.
Yeah.
Potentially early 70s.
Yeah, that's what they think. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, the last known murder that he confessed to was 1997. That was the last time that he said he actually killed somebody. Oh no, I lied. Nope. He had, when he admitted later on,
right.
He said that he killed somebody in 2005. Her name was Nancy Carroll Stevens.
Right. So that'd be 15 years from when he died. So if he was 85, that's 70.
Yeah. So he was killing, he was born in 1940.
So he was 80 when he died.
Yes, he was 80 when he died.
Yeah. So you said in his 80s, I thought.
No, he was 80 when he died.
So yeah, he was killing somebody at 65 years old.
Yeah, which to me, that's what I'm saying though, is you think about this and you're like, and not only did this isn't like he might have. No, he straight up said.
Yeah.
In 2005, I murdered these many people. And actually, now that I say all that, I don't think he was arrested until like 2012 or something.
And when was he confessed? When was his first murder?
His very first murder was 1970.
So 70 to 2005. So he'd been killing for 35 years.
Yeah. So it's very possible that he killed 93 people.
Bonkers. Yeah.
And
35 years is a long time.
And again, why would you make that up? Why,
Right.
What would be your purpose in making it up and saying, oh yeah, I killed 93 women, especially because the FBI comes out literally in 2018 or 2019 and says, we've been able to confirm 50 of those 93 are real.
And how the did you get away with it for so long?
Because they were all drug addicts and prostitutes.
Right.
And they were marked.
We talk about other serial killers who did that and they got caught.
Do you want to know what I honestly think? I think it's because, first of all, he moved around. It was never the same location. He didn't have a dump site. And He literally didn't do anything other than strangle him. He might beat him.
Well,
and
it
I know
didn't
he
sound-
did rape.
Yeah, I was gonna say they did talk about like how many black women there
Yes.
were, but the ages were all over the place. Like
he didn't have
it was
like a
just
set type.
woman.
It was literally like he would. And again, the thing that bugs me is he never said why.
Yeah.
Like he never said like, oh, I
'Cause
did
he's
this
evil?
because like that's what I'm saying. Like that's
He had
why I
mommy
mean
issues.
he's one of those people who was just born bad, right?
Yeah.
He was just born bad because he didn't have a reason. He just did it, and he got away with it. And he preyed on the people that you can prey on that he knew would be less. He'd have a less of a chance probably of getting caught. And a lot of the times with these women, I think sometimes he was killing them to steal from them, to take from them, right? So he would steal from them. Nowhere did it say it, but rape is one of the characteristics of his murders, apparently. And so he must have obviously raped some of these women. But again, because of the world we live in, if they find somebody that has died and they are a known prostitute or a known drug abuser, if it doesn't look like if they were not beat the shit out of and they're just dead, like they were strangled, they don't care to look into it. And so
a person's a person.
Had they looked into it and maybe tried to figure out why this person died, maybe they would have caught him sooner. I don't know, but he obviously was doing something because they were able to link him with the DNA through a couple of them. So anyways,
crazy.
So that's the story of Samuel Little, who killed a fuck ton of women, and I'm really hoping that in the next 5 to 10 years the FBI can come out and say, yes, he killed 93 women and we've identified all of them. That's my hope, is that they all can get identified. Yeah, because it would be nice for anyone who's has a missing someone or Jane Does who have died, like to be able to try to link them together, so
check the link, share it, see what you can do.
See if you recognize.
It'd be awesome if we could help with some of this.
Share it around the world.
And as you're sharing, share our podcast with your friends, with your family, with strangers you don't know. Just tell them about it.
Yep.
The more we can get out there, the better. And as the 50th episode comes up, we'll have somebody really cool to talk about. We'll have a new intro. We'll have a new intro.
I'll give you a snippet. It's not of somebody.
Ooh.
It's somebody's.
There you go. All right. And we look forward to having you guys listen to us for our 50th episode. Should be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Countdown has begun. We're not very far away. So, yeah, I think at this point.
This is the part where I say goodbye.
And I'll hit it with a bye-bye.